Well, I got interviewed, and I got the job eventually, because I think there was a lot of hoo-ha about it. Because this is an ex-MP who's never been in local government, right? He's applying for this job. I'm led to believe that the chief executive, the last thing he wanted for me was have the job. But Lord Haycock, being the leader of the council, as Lord Haycock would, you know, what Lord Haycock says, there was only one man bigger than Lord Haycock, and that was the Lord himself. You know, and there's a story coming out of that now, and I just thought of it as I was saying it. There's a great story about Lord Haycock. His wife, Lady Haycock, was out brushing the front of a very modest house, bungalow in Margam, by Margam Church. Very modest house it did. And the Jehovah's Witnesses came calling. And they stopped her in the driveway where she was brushing away, and they asked her, "Does the Lord dwell in this house?" And Lady Haycock says, "Yes, he does, but he's gone to London." Anyway, that's a true story. Yes, he does, but he's gone to London. But all sorts of bad things have been said about Lord Haycock over the years, right? But I tell you, that man, for someone who left school at 11, who finished up as a signalman on the railway in Port Talbot, who became the leader of the most powerful county council in Wales, the old Glamorgan County Council, that covered an area from Pontarddulais to Newport, more or less, up to Bridgend, all the valleys, the most powerful, you know, and he was the leader of that. And I used to talk with him a lot. When I got the job, I would see him often. And he told me once, Gwynoro, he said, if you want to go to the top, read the minutes. What do you mean? I said, read the minutes. If you're on a committee, read the minutes. That's how I got to the top. Nobody else on the council would read the minutes. But I read every minute from a young councillor. He became a councillor at 25, 26. And people noticed, he said, I was the only one who could ask the questions. I was the only one who had sensible questions to ask. And how true it is. Throughout my local government life, and even political life afterwards, when I used to be the chairman of the SDP, chairman of the Alliance Committee, on the National Committee of the Liberal Democrats, I realised people don't read minutes. You know, when I was working for the county council, minutes would be sent out of meetings held, endless meetings. And people would ask questions, and the answer was already in the minutes. And it's true. If you want to make yourself known and noticed, show that you read the minutes. Anyway, so now I got the job, and I was very apprehensive, because even though I could, you know, I still wasn't sure. I know it was a Labour council. Very, very apprehensive, because I'd never done this sort of work before. And the unit was of 22 people. So I was head of a research unit of 22 people. And those people had been there since 74. And I come in now in, well, it's April 74. And I have no doubt, when I found out later, 2 of the assistant directors had applied for the job. And I got the job over there, but it was all politics. And I suspect it's true. I'm quite open to admit it, I suspect, that I got the job because of who I was, and that I was an ex-Labour MP. And probably no other rationalisation. Anyway, there's no much detail to do about the job, because it's an interesting job, supporting the council, councillors and things of that kind. We did a general household survey of 25,000 houses in West Glamorgan to find out what people thought about all sorts of issues. And that household survey wasn't organised by me, it was organised by the assistant, one of the assistants I had there, who was an expert on social surveys, you know, and it kept us going for ages. But I had not figured on the chief executive, Mr. Michael Rush, an absolute off-the-wall guy. I have never, ever in my life come across, he wouldn't survive today. They actually got rid of him in the end later on, but it took them 10 years more than they should have to get rid of him. He was bonkers. You know, able, but if he lost it, he lost it. And would he lose it often? Very often. You know what I mean? The way he treated people was despicable. And of course he made the awful mistake of trying it on me more than once. And I stood up to him. There was one occasion when I stormed out of his room because of the way he was talking to me, right? And I was going down the corridor, and he came out of his room, and he said, "Mr. George," shouting down the long corridors, "come back to this effing office." So back I go, and I closed the door, and I went up within 6 inches of his nose. This is true. I said, "Mr. Rush, are you going to stop now, or else you know what's happening next?" I wasn't going to hit him. I would just wipe the floor with him. Now it's up to you how we want our future relationship to carry on. But the decision is being made now. Not next week, this minute. And he changed. There was the odd occasion he would try it, and I would only look at him and raise my finger, because he couldn't help himself, you see. He was not good. And people there used to be treated like dirt. Big, important people. Hugh Thomas, his deputy, who was the president of the National Eisteddfod of Wales, executive committee, he would treat him like a poodle, and he would throw him out of the office as if it didn't matter. And he was a well-speaking person from Labour. He tried to become the Labour candidate for Eckley in 1970 when Denzel got it. So I knew Hugh very well, and I used to go and talk with Hugh in Welsh. "Pam, why do you take this?" But he didn't have the bottles. He didn't have the backbone to stand up to him. And then there was another deputy there who I was waiting to see him one day, and I could hear this noise coming out of his room. And, like a tsunami, you see. When he went, it was like a tsunami, you know. A guy called Martin Clare, who was the legal assistant director. Well, his door opened. First of all, through the air came files, right across the secretary's room, right? Followed by Martin Clare. And he now was on all fours on the floor, picking up these files. And he turned to me, and I was sitting on his chair waiting to go in next. And he said, "It's very stormy in there this morning, Gwynoro." I saw that man hit his head against the wall in pure anger. And I'm not just tapping with his seat, hitting the back of the wall like mad. Absolutely off his head. There was one time I went in there, and he had his shoes off, only in his socks. And he said to me, "Take your shoes off. You'll find it very relaxing." So I took my shoes off, and there we were having this meeting without shoes off. Bananas. But yet very, very able. Fine line, isn't it, between highly intelligent and lunacy, sometimes I suspect. It's a fine line, because he could pick up things, he would read things and he would pick it up very, very fast, very good, you know. But he had a major character flaw.